So today we're going to talk about something that is quite interesting because a long time ago, probably when Pearl was, just a couple weeks old and whatnot, I mentioned on stream, and some of the true OGs will remember me saying this, I had a fever dream about Killjoy on Pearl. And it's taken a while, but finally it seems like, some of these teams are catching up to my genius and starting to play Killjoy on Pearl. We've seen it a bit from some other teams, but here we had a game, Navi versus Vitality on Pearl, where both teams are running Killjoy. And if a chamber nerf is coming in the future as well, then that potentially could be, I think the direction that maybe a lot of teams end up going with, depending on what that chamber nerf might be. But let's just talk about Killjoy on Pearl, and let's take a look at some of the rounds in this game, because it's pretty interesting. And actually, why not start with a Killjoy ace in this round? So Vitality are on the attacking side this time. They have just pistols, as you can see, against the guns in this round. It's 3-1 to Navi. And what's going to happen to start off with is they're just going to go for a bit of a default look here. They're actually going to put the Killjoy turret, as you can see, just there in A. And the setup from, you can see here, Navi on the defensive side as well, is this interesting little, mid kind of interesting thing going on here with a deeper alarm bot, a nanoswarm in here. You got the turret watching down B as well in case CNED needs to retreat. And you got a nanoswarm in here, which I kind of like as well, which is kind of interesting and a bit weird. So that's what they're going to go for. And we're going to start with just a default. You see the drone comes out in A main. We got some mid pressure coming out from Vitality. But CNED with an op manages to find the first kill on Bone Cold. Your controller is dead. You probably think, well, that's probably the round, right? But what's going to happen is Vitality going to sneak in towards R, as you can see just here. Dark comes out, Sender avoids that. But now Sender is going to do something that's very, very important to this round, because actually Vitality managed to get pretty deep, as you can see, down towards A. But I want you to keep your eye on Sender, because what he does here is very, very crucial. And if you're ever in this position, this isn't really like a lurk necessarily, right? He's kind of just the kind of second layer to this attack, you might say, rather than a lurk. But what's important here is that he doesn't come around this corner first. He has to wait for his teammates to go first, because otherwise he's just in a sheriff, against a gun here. And, well, maybe he can win that fight, but he's probably not favored to win this fight if he comes around this corner. But if he waits for his teammates to come around this corner, they're playing as a 3, essentially. And so, they can trade off each other. There's 3 of them there, right? 3 sheriffs can probably beat a rifle, or you hope so, at least at this level. So, he just needs to wait for his teammates here. And I see a lot of people kind of make this mistake where they're like, oh, these guys are pretty near to the site, so I should be getting pretty near to the site. No, what you should be doing is what Sender does here, which is just wait for your teammates to, take that contact first, which is what they're going to do. Shao just sees them just there. That forces Angel to turn around on this Sova, as you can see there. This smoke is going to come up. You see Angel is here, and, well, Twiston actually just gets caught before that smoke and dies to Angel just there. But now the focus is all on here, right? You're going to see that both Shao and Angel now just think that everyone is back here, and all of Vitality are coming together. So Sender is going to get just a free kill here, as Shao, I think, just isn't aware, right? And so he gets that first kill there. We end up in a 3v4, and then he does manage now that obviously the gig is up, he manages to kill Angel on the site as well. We end up in a 3v3, and now they have the site as well. And now we're going to see one of the reasons that I thought Killjoy had a chance on this map, and that is that there are quite a few good Killjoy lockdown positions. In this instance, they actually get onto the site. Obviously, I mean, this is just a lockdown that's going to guarantee the site, but, there's quite a few good ones. This is one that's pretty good. We're going to see, there's good retake ones here as well for B. There's good retake ones here for A as well that are pretty safe. This is a pretty good spot for a Killjoy lockdown. So that's kind of one of the reasons as well that I thought Killjoy's got a chance on this map, because, there's quite a few good lockdown positions on this map. You don't see too many breaches, so, there's no, like, super easy way to destroy it. KO does have a nade, which can do, but, there's no super easy way of destroying it. And so what we're going to see here, though, is we're going to see that Zipan is going to come in. But we're going to get kind of the second point here of why I think that Killjoy again has a chance on this map, and it's to do with stuff like this. Sender has just put down his alarm bot on the attacking side, and you will see a lot of this from the attacking rounds with a Killjoy on this map, is that they often wait to put down this alarm bot until pretty late into the round, when you've already kind of, maybe getting in onto site, or you actually have the site, like in this instance here. Because there is just a lot of different ways to go, and you're going to see it later in this round as well, right? That on this site here, there is a lot of different directions that these defenders can come from to attack this A site, right? There's just a ton of different ones. That's where having a Killjoy helps, because you can do stuff like put an alarm bot there, right? Have a turret be watching, different angles as well. And that is just, I think, just a massive thing, because this map is just full of flanks and reflanks and coming around all these different angles. And so Sender gets the information. Zipan does just go massive, and Sender eventually trades him out. We end up in this position, but the lockdown gives him time to plant there, so he's going to get the spike down. And now look, he's going to put the turret up there. He's going to hit an insane shot on Cena just there. But this turret is so big, because I'm not sure whether he knew where Sogetsu was, right? And as I just said, there's a ton of different directions that Sogetsu can potentially come from. And this is a very difficult situation for a lot of agents. But Killjoy, you know, with this turret can watch these two angles for Sender just here, right? So, and if he comes down A main, right, he can tuck in maybe down here and kind of, you know, you'll probably hear him and just play time potentially. And then he just has to deal with a lot less than otherwise, you know, without this Killjoy turret here. This is kind of a nightmare scenario. There's so many different ways, you know, that Sogetsu could be coming from, right? It's really difficult. They haven't seen him yet. So I don't think he knew where he was, right? But then you're going to see the turret is going to go off. And that alerts him, and that turret pretty much wins the round. And I do think that this is one of the main reasons why Killjoy makes a lot of sense on this map, because there's just so many flanking, reflanking opportunities that having that alarm bot and the turret and then nano swarms to, you know, stop people as well coming through certain tight spaces, which there are on this map, right? There's just a ton of like tight spaces that these nano swarms are very good in, right? This map is kind of full of them. You know, it just is really helpful to have a Killjoy, you know, potentially tell you where those players are coming from, and then being able to potentially stop them as well. Sender gets an ace, a great start. Now let's come to round number 7, because this is a very interesting round for how Navi kind of played these situations. And there was another example in the Parlor game as well, the grand final of this tournament, where Navi did something similar to an even more extreme degree. And I just think it's very interesting. So let's take a look at this round and how it plays out. So we're going to start off with some early information tools here. We're going to get KO knife. We're going to get a dart in here. This dart is going to see no one, so Cena is going to come up and challenge the turret here, which was watching for this. And he destroys the turret and then falls back. Drone comes out here. Vitality are on a save in this round, and so they're going to come and, you know, play mid. As you can see, the drone comes out from Angel just there, gets destroyed. And as you can see, Vitality here are trying to sort of make their way up into, you know, this kind of area by the double doors. They send a Prowler in. They send a little smoke in here as well, as you can see just there. But we still got this Alarm Bot and Nano Swarm in there. But considering this Prowler has just gone pretty far, they actually feel like, oh, they're probably already somewhat here. So before even the alarm bot goes off, they're gonna, you know, kind of set the trap as they go for an Astrosuck that comes in just here, and that is going to destroy them. And I just want you to take a look again. Now we've got Zipan, Xiao, and Soigetsu are all challenging this area, right? You've got CNET here watching for the other side of mid, and Angel watching just, you know, the cross on A. They've got the turret here watching B as well, so basically, you know, they have somewhat everything covered. But, you know, Pearl as a map is a map that gets played on the extremities quite a lot. But on ecos, you see this all the time. On ecos, teams love to attack in this space, right? It's like every single team does it. And this is something I thought was just so interesting from Navi, is that in a couple of these rounds when they're against ecos, they just put a ton of people here, like, just to watch this. They just commit a ton of things to it, right? We've already got, like, Astrosuck, you know, Nanoswarm, Alarm Bot, and 3 players are also here to try and deal with this, right? And they did this against Parlor as well, where at one point they had 4 people watching this area and utility, and were just giving up the rest of the map because they just knew teams just love doing this, right? So on ecos for whatever reason. And so, you know, we feel like we've got a read of that, and so we're just going to play super heavy into it. And what ends up happening is, well, Vitality end up getting destroyed. As you can see just there, they managed to get those 2 kills and the spike as well. Twiston is going to go on a bit of a spike recovery mission here and is going to manage to get it back for them. But this round, obviously, at this point is pretty much over. They're against a save. They've got the first 2 kills. And so, yeah, this round is pretty much over. But I just love it, right? And they just continue, right? They just continue this fight. These 3 players, as you can see, you know, they're just continuing to go at it. And I just thought it was a very interesting way. And this angle, by the way, on top of this box is quite a nice little off angle. You might want to steal to have in your games as well, right? Just on top of the box there, a bit unexpected. And so, yeah, Zipan is then just going to go chasing for that last kill, and he finds it. But I just thought really interesting kind of defensive strategy from Navi to just play so, like, heavily in towards the mid doors, which, normally you might have like one person checking in on it every so often, right? You put a chamber trap or an alarm bot in there a lot of the time and just kind of leave it because no one often goes there. But against ecos, they were heavily defending that, right? And basically saying, we know on an eco, you guys aren't going to come down here against like an op. Why would you, right? You're on an eco. That you would have to hit some insane shot with a sheriff, and it probably wouldn't even be a kill, right? Because it'd be a 145. So we feel like you're not going to come down here, and you're definitely going to come down here instead. I just thought it was very interesting, and just have the turret watching now be instead. And now let's come to the pistol round on the other side. So now Navi are attacking, Vitality are now defending. And as you can see, we've got 1 minute 28 left in the half, and it looks like Navi are just going for a pretty basic A hit here. I did find it interesting how both teams set up their attacking turrets as well. Vitality were very much focused on this kind of A main area, as we kind of saw before, whereas for Navi, they focused a lot for their turret to be watching down mid early on. So, a little bit of difference, but, that does show that there are some kind of different ideas here with the Killjoy as well. You can see the drone is coming in towards this A site, and they are just going to, end up grouping up and coming towards this A site on Navi as they start to come in. But we're going to see as well a really, really, really nice nano swarm lineup here as well from Suigetsu. As the dart comes in just there, we get a nano swarm, and he's throwing that from all the way back here, right? It's coming all the way back here. You got an Astrosuck down there as well, and then a nano swarm coming in with it. Jet dashes in with CNED just here, and Sender is in a world of trouble, as you can see just there, with the Astrosuck, and the Nanoswarm manages to get a kill. But actually, we are going to see the most insane, and I truly do mean this, insane grenade coming out from the Rays that you probably have ever seen. So Malty is just here, just kind of, he's sitting there, he's waiting. His teammate has just died on this site, right? It's not a great position to be in. He knows that CNED is kind of close to him, as you can see. He's deep in onto the site, and I think that, here Navi, they probably think like, oh, maybe we've just got the site, right? Maybe we're just good. But actually, that is not the case at all, because what's about to happen is that nade is about to go in, and you can see that Zipan and Xiao are in a very, very bad spot because that nade is right on their feet, and so they have to run away from it. It gets one kill. Malty manages to get a second kill just there from it. Now the smokes start to fade. CNED dies as well, and so we end up in a 4v2, and just like that, Malty's well-placed grenade really, did kind of shut them down here, and this is why, here on this map, Pearl, you will see a lot of teams, kind of come in onto this A site and really focus on this area, right? You see some teams just like religiously take this area, and really, really focus on clearing this dugout out. Potentially for situations like that. Eventually, what's going to happen in this round is Angel's going to try and run all the way around. He's going to die, and Suigetsu, even though Suigetsu is very, very good at 1v4s, he's not going to manage to win this one either. So you see, we'll just run it quicker a bit here. Angel dies there, and nice shot by Bunkhold, and Vitality will win the round. And now let's finish off with round number 19, which is a round that Navi probably should have won, perhaps, but actually didn't, but they would go on to win the game. They're actually just going to come for a fast B hit here, as you can see. They're just going to start off with early KO knife. We're going to get a KO knife in response here as well, but, recall star, all pretty normal stuff. I think Bunkhold sees them just there. Angel sends down a shock dart. He's going to drone from this position just here, come in with the drone, and, they start to come in onto the site, whatnot. It's all pretty standard stuff at this point. We're playing for a retake on the defensive side. It's all fairly normal. But what's going to happen is we're going to get this Astra ult. And one thing I haven't really mentioned about Navi, I've been focusing on the Killjoy a lot, is they're also playing this Jet and Sova, right? The Sova's an interesting one because we'll see, like, with the fade nerfs, how much will that affect it? I'm kind of interested to see, what maps, Sova makes their revival on. But also the Jet, and something interesting, because what's going to happen is CNED's actually going to come and updraft on the top of this box and then try and come through the wall at some point on this unexpected angle. Quite a nice little idea. And they also tried some interesting things as well, where you would updraft and come into heaven. It wasn't super successful, but I do think there is potential there for it, right? Like, if you can hold heaven, pretty much the round is over. If you can get the spike down on B and the attacking side has heaven control and you can't really get them out of it, it pretty much is lights out. And there's some things there potentially that they need to, and could work on here, Navi. But you see CNED, he comes up drafts on top of that box. They try and flash through for him, but actually Malzy is ready for it and manages to get the kill. Somehow Zipan lives through this nade. This is quite bizarre. Yeah, he just survives the nade. I guess the C's was already coming out, but then we get the Killjoy lockdown, and this Killjoy lockdown that I was talking about, and in combination with this Astral, good luck destroying this. It might even be you could do this astral so that there's even a little gap that someone would have to actually run in here and destroy it from there, right, to make it completely impossible to destroy. But it's just going to give them a lot of control, right, of this B site. It's going to push these guys all the way back there. There is a little corner here for people to, survive in, but it just makes it very, very difficult. And you see the Vitality, like, start worrying very much about the time. And so they just kind of just think, like, let's just go for it, I guess. Maybe we can destroy the lockdown here. And so the kills start going back and forth, back and forth as we see just there. But then 2 people get detained. The thing is, I'm pretty sure Malsey was one of those 2, but Angel just killed him. So there's only 2 people alive for Vitality at this point, Sender and Bone Cold. And so I think potentially here, they thought that they were both detained. I don't quite know, right? It's a weird situation. Everything was happening so fast. But you see Angel is just jumping around, right? He's rezzing. He's like, oh, we've got this in the bag. But then Sender's just not detained, right? Sender's just fine. And then they try the Astrosuck from Xiao, but it's just a little off. And so they can get this like body block on the Astrosuck and keep the diffuser on the spike there for Sender. And, well, they managed to defuse it in the end. A very, very like odd round. And I do perhaps think that they thought like, oh, 2 players detained, and there was only 2 players left, that they thought, oh, we've won the round. But no, Sender was not detained, comes in, kills Angel, and Vitality would win the round instead. But Navi would go on to win the game. And Navi in particular with this comp played Pearl quite a few times in this tournament, and won, I think, every single time that they played Pearl. And from where FPX were on Pearl before, where they looked very shaky and it looked like they didn't know what they were doing, this looked like it had some legs. Like if you can beat, Vitality are a tier 1 team, and if you can beat, all of these teams pretty soundly on Pearl, with this kind of comp, I think, it does have some legs, and we'll see if they will use it going forward. Obviously, this is a bit of a testing ground for things to work and whatnot, but I do think that, there is some ideas there with Killjoy that are pretty good, and particularly if a Chambernuff comes in, I wouldn't be surprised to see that go in that direction. The Jet had some interesting ideas as well. I'm going to say it's better than Neon Arrays, I'm not quite sure, but there are some ideas there. And the Sova as well is going to be interesting to see with those Fade nerfs, right? What maps become Sova maps again, and where will Fade continue her dominance? Pearl is one I think most people would have expected Fade to, continue on, but we will have to see.